All right, good friends, here we are again today in the country kitchen, and I'm going to make a sour cream pound cake. So let me turn this around to where my mixer's at. This is a KitchenAid mixer, and it's a good heavy-duty mixer. So what we're going to do, let me tell you about this recipe first before I get started here. This recipe for a sour cream pound cake, I got this recipe years ago when I lived in Tanner Williams, Alabama. And that is right on the Alabama-Mississippi line. I was just almost on the line. But anyway, I lived over there for, I guess, about 12 years. And my neighbor, Sister Ashley Pierce, is the one who gave me this recipe for this pound cake. So I'm going to make that for you today. I did change up the recipe just a little bit. The recipe calls for a half cup, it calls for a full cup of shortening. That's what it calls for. I changed that out for a full cup of butter. So that's the change I made in this recipe because I like the pound cake having a butter flavor to it. Okay, so let's get around here to where the mixer's at and where my ingredients are, and we're going to start making this recipe. So I'm going to need 3 cups of sugar. Let me get my sugar over here. I just keep a 1 cup measuring cup in my sugar. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm putting my sugar in first so that it will be on the bottom of my bowl instead of my eggs or my butter. I want my sugar to be on the bottom of the bowl so that that will help keep the eggs and the butter from sticking to the bottom of the bowl. So my sugar goes in first. Next I'm going to put in my butter. I think I may actually just cut this up in small pieces. I'm just now thinking about this. That would probably be better than just throwing 2 whole sticks of butter in the mixer here. So I'm just going to take a knife and just kind of slice it up. Put it in the bowl. And it's really better if you can have your butter at room temperature. It will mix in better. I haven't had mine sitting out long enough to actually come to room temperature, but I can mix it long enough that it'll mix up. Just take a little bit longer for it to mix. Okay, so here's 1/2 cup. See, 1 stick of butter is 8 tablespoons. It's got it marked on the side. You can see where it says tablespoons, it marks it off. Okay, that's 8 tablespoons, and that equals 1/2 cup. Okay, let me open this one up. And we'll cut it up, put it in. Now you don't want to use, in making this recipe, you don't want to use a spread in the place of your butter. You know, they have the sticks of, it's called spread. You don't want to use something like that in making this recipe because the spread has a lot of water that's been added to it, and it's going to mess up your cake. It's going to mess up the texture. So you need to use either, like the original recipe said, use shortening or use butter. And you can use margarine, but you need to make sure that it is margarine, that it's not a spread or that it's not a whipped margarine or something like that, because that's not going, your texture's not going to work out right if you do that. So I use unsalted butter in the place of the shortening, and the reason that I chose to do unsalted butter instead of salted butter is because the original recipe said shortening, and shortening does not have salt in it. So since I'm substituting, I'm going to substitute with unsalted butter. Okay, so the next thing our recipe calls for is 6 eggs. So we're going to crack the eggs and add them next. I try to scrape down in the eggshell, get all of the egg out of the shells. Sometimes some of the egg white is clinging to the inside of the shells, and I try to get that all scraped out. Okay, this is number 5. Okay, so I've got 6 eggs in there. Let me rinse my hands off. Okay, so we're going to beat this together, sugar, butter, and eggs, until that it's nice and fluffy and smooth. Let's use our paddle. We're going to use our paddle in there. Okay. Now, when I initially crank this up, it may kind of knock the sugar may shoot up out of here initially when I crank it up. Okay, so we're going to turn this on. We're going to let it start beating the ingredients up, and that will take several minutes. Okay, here we go. You just got it on low. Try to kind of let the ingredients get combined together here, and once that is combined, then we'll go ahead and turn it up to high. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and increase the speed. Okay, I've got it on high. We're going to let that it looks like that's going to be a little too fast. Let me turn it down. Starting to flip up on the sides here, so I'm going to turn it down. High was too high for it. It's too fast. I've just got it on a medium speed now. We're going to let this mix for just a little while. Okay, so the batter's been beating for about 11 or 12 minutes. Let's turn this around to the mixer. Turn it off. We've got a nice smooth batter now. Tilt the pot, see if you can see that. Okay, so that's nice and smooth. So we're ready to add our next ingredients. So the next thing we need to do is we need our sour cream. This is 8 ounces of sour cream right here. And we've got to put 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in this sour cream. So here's my 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, put that in there. We need to stir this up. Okay, and we're going to let that set while I get the flour and the salt ready. So next we need 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to put it in the sifter. And I may have to scoot this bowl. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just take this paddle out of the way for right now because I've got to put more ingredients in here and this paddle's just kind of in the way. So let me set that over to one side here. Okay, put my sifter on top of this plate and let me measure 3 cups of flour. Okay, this is plain flour, plain or all-purpose, whichever one you want to call it. We need 3 cups. When you're measuring it, you don't want it to be packed. You don't want your flour to be packed in it. You can't see what I'm doing, can you? Okay, I'm measuring my flour out of this flour bowl right here. That's 1. 2. It didn't all come out of there. Okay, 2. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and just sift this in here because my sifter's almost full. Okay, and put the 3rd cup in now. Okay, there's 3. That's 3 cups of flour. Okay, before I put the remaining flour in there, I need to put 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So let me get over my sink. I don't want to get too much salt. Measure it out while I'm over my sink. Okay, here we go. Got my 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, just kind of stir that up a little bit. Okay, now let's put the rest of the flour in here. Okay, so I sifted it, and you can see down in the sifter, there's a few just little pieces of balls of flour. So it's good to sift your flour, and it gets out these little lumps of flour. And also it adds air to your flour to make your flour more light and fluffy. Now I've got flour on this plate where I had the sifter sitting. And as I was pouring flour in the sifter, some sifted down on this plate. So this needs to go in the recipe too, because this is part of the 3 cups of flour. So put that in there. Okay, now we're going to put our paddle back in and kind of spread some of this out. Let's see. Put our paddle back in and get this going again. And we've still got the sour cream with the soda in it that's going to have to go in there as well. Okay, we may knock flour everywhere when we turn this on. Let's see what happens. Okay, no, it's doing good. Just got it on low. We'll let this beat just a few minutes, kind of get this flour incorporated in here, and then we're going to add the sour cream and soda in here as well. Okay, now let me add the sour cream and soda in here as well. Trying to get all of the sour cream out of there. Scrape it off the spoon with my finger. Get it down in there. It's important for your measurements to be accurate when you're making a cake. So that's what I'm trying to do, is have accurate measurements here. Okay, let's start it back up. All right, that's starting to look smooth. Okay, let me turn it off. I'll reach down in here with my spatula and just see if there's anything. I'm needing to scrape the flour off of the sides of this mixing bowl. And also I want to reach down in the bottom and see if there's anything in the bottom that's not getting mixed, and scrape it up off the bottom where I can be sure that it gets mixed up. Okay, there we go. Just kind of scrape the spatula on the paddle. Get this batter off of the spatula. All right, there we go. Now we're going to turn this mixer back on. We're going to let this beat for a while until it gets nice and smooth. Okay, so we have beat this batter until it's nice and smooth, probably about 10 more minutes. So I'm going to turn this off. And I just mixed this on medium speed. Okay, let's lift up the head of the mixer. Let's take the paddle loose from it. And let's scrape this. Let me turn this around a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I've got my paddle off of the mixer here, and I'm just scraping the batter off of the paddle. Because that's part of the cake right there, and I don't want to throw that away. I want to put it down in here with the rest of the batter. Okay, pretty well got that scraped off. Let me rinse my hands off. Okay, now we're ready to put this batter in our pan. I'm going to use a bundt pan. Let me scoot this mixer over a little bit. Scoop my bundt pan up in here where you can see it. Okay, so I need to spray my bundt pan. You can use, if you don't have this PAM spray, you can use the PAM spray with flour or without flour. This is with flour. You can use shortening to grease your pan with if you don't have a spray, and then flour the pan. So you can put shortening in your pan or butter, then cover that with a light coating of flour, or you can use one of the sprays like this. The old-fashioned way was to just, get shortening, put it in your pan, then you get some flour, put it in your pan, and you just kind of move it around and get the flour all over it, and then you'd go shake off the excess, And that was the way you used to prepare your pans for a cake. But now we've got this spray stuff, so it's a lot easier. Okay, so let me spray my pan. Okay. Okay, I believe that's pretty much got it. Now, we're going to need to put the batter in this pan. Now, I'm trying to get this where you can see it all. Scoop this down a little bit, scoop my pan down a little bit. Okay. All right, here we go. I need to put the batter in the pan. I'm trying to pour this where you can see it. You don't want to just pour the batter all in one place in the pan, but you want to pour it around so it can get evenly distributed in your pan. Okay, and now I will have to get my spatula, and I'll have to scrape the rest of it out, and it's going to be hard for me to do this where you can see it. I don't have my producer with me today, Carla. She's at work, so I'm having to just try to do this on my own. It's a lot easier when I got somebody to follow me around the kitchen. So I'm just scraping the rest of the batter out of this bowl into my bundt pan. I'm kind of making a mess because I'm trying to do it where you can see it and kind of getting batter everywhere. And you still can't see it very good. Okay, I'm about to get all my batter out. There we go. Now, got my batter in my pan, and I've dropped some batter on the side of the pan here. Let me get that wiped off. And I've got some batter up here, which is not good. Let me try to get that back down in the pan some. Kind of get that wiped off. Okay. All right. I think I got some somewhere else on here too, maybe on the bottom. Yeah, just a little bit on the bottom. Get that off. Okay. I think I've got this ready to go. Now, we'll just kind of shake it a little bit. Make sure it's evenly distributed. Get that off of there. Okay, and we're going to be ready to put this in the oven. Now my oven has been preheating on bake 350. The recipe says to cook this cake for 1 hour. Now I usually end up having to cook it for a little longer than an hour. So we're going to turn this around to where my double ovens are at. Got my top double oven ready to go. Okay, now we're going to put this in. It's in there. We're going to let it cook for 1 hour. We'll check it after 1 hour to see how it's doing, to see if it's ready or if it needs to cook a little longer. All right, our cake has been cooking for a little over an hour, and I'm going to check it. I've got this like shish kebab stick. I'm going to stick down in there. If it comes out clean, then the cake is ready. So I'm fixing to test it. Okay, there it is. Wow. It has really risen up in the pan really high. Okay. Okay, we're going to cook it for about 5 more minutes, and we'll test it again. All right, everybody, we're ready to check the cake again, and let's see if it's ready. I'm thinking it should be done by now. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, just testing it in several different places. You can see how, I'm going to bring this stick over here. I stuck this stick down in it in several places, and it came out for the most part clean. Right there on the end, maybe there's a little crumb of cake, but this cake is ready. So we're going to take it out. Okay, I'm going to bring it around, put it over on my counter. I'll turn this camera around in a minute so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, let's turn this back around to my counter. Okay, let me turn this down a little bit where you can see. There's the cake, and here's the rack that I'm going to cool it on right here. So we're going to flip this out on this rack, on this wire rack. Okay, here we go. There's our cake. Let me scoot it over here where you can see it. There you go. Now we're going to let it cool on this rack. And this cake, you can do several things with this cake. Okay? You can eat it just like it is, which is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to eat it just like it is because I love it warm out of the oven, nice and warm. I love it like that. Let me get this turned around here. I'm having trouble with my tripod. Okay. I love it warm, just like it is out of the oven. Or you can add a glaze. You can add a powdered sugar glaze. You just take a little powdered sugar, a little water or milk, and some vanilla flavoring. Mix it up, pour it over the top. Now, if you want it to be a lemon glaze, add a little lemon flavoring to it instead of vanilla flavoring. And if you want a lemon pound cake, when you're mixing up the cake, add some lemon flavoring to the batter, and that will make a lemon pound cake. So anyway, we're going to enjoy this cake, and I've got something that I really want to show y'all that I'm very excited about. And that is, look at here. This is a Tupperware cake plate from the 70s. I found this a few days ago at Goodwill in Saraland. And it is the Harvest Gold colors. And that was one of the 70s colors. And I've showed you before here in my kitchen. My kitchen has the 70s colors in it. Look around over here. See my drop-in stovetop over here? My drop-in stovetop. It's Harvest Gold My double ovens are Harvest Gold. And then I've got over here under the counter, I've got a Harvest Gold colored dishwasher. So I thought it was really neat that I found a vintage Harvest Gold Tupperware cake plate. That is amazing. And I love my Harvest Gold colors in here, even though I know this is not the style. I like it. And so I'm leaving my kitchen these same colors just like they are. And it's like I told my daughter Rebecca, I said, you just give it time and these colors will come back in style again. And something that is so funny is she told me, she said, Mom, I'm learning how to do macrame. And I just laughed. I was like, oh girl, you gotta be kidding me. Macrame, that is nothing new. That is something we done back when I was a teenager. So it's just like I said, you give it time. Here comes the macrame back around. These 70s colors are gonna come back in style. I've got paneling on my walls. I'm not changing out my walls. I like paneling. Give it just a little bit of time. Paneling's gonna be back in style. By the way, I had to take my hair down out of the barrette because it was starting to give me a little bit of a headache. So anyway, had to take my hair down. But all right, that is all for today. I hope that y'all enjoyed being here with me in the kitchen today, learning how to cook this sour cream pound cake. And y'all be good, and we'll see y'all next time. All right, I know I've done told y'all bye for today, but Carla's here now, and we're going to cut this cake and taste it. Carla's never tasted this cake before. So,
and it sounds good.
And it's still warm. So let me turn this around, if I can, to where the cake's at. Okay, there we go. There's the cake. Let's turn this down just a little bit. All right. Okay, so I'm going to cut a few slices of this cake. I'm using a serrated knife, by the way, because it cuts it nice and clean. So here we go. We're cutting the cake. You know what? I should put it on my cake plate that I showed y'all earlier. Let me transfer it over to my cake plate. Okay, let's pick her up, put her over here. There we go. Isn't that nice? A nice vintage cake plate. Okay, now let's cut a piece of cake. And this cake has a good crunchy crust on it. I love that. Okay, here's one piece. We cut another piece. And then I'm going to let Carla taste this and see what she thinks about it. Okay. Carla, let's get around here where they can see you. Here's Carla's piece of cake.
And you know I'm the guinea pig, so I got to eat everything.
Here's my piece of cake. Oh, yummy. It makes me want to sing and dance.
It's actually very delicious. It looks like a loaf of bread, but it's not a loaf of bread. It's sweet, but not terribly sweet, which I don't like real sweet desserts. But it's got a good sweet taste to it, and it's buttery and it's moist, which doesn't look like, I mean, you wouldn't think it would be, but it is. It's moist.
And you can use this for strawberry shortcake too.
Mm.
You can put sweetened strawberries on it, Cool Whip. So delish. Okay, see
I bet it would work with ice cream too.
Probably so. All right, we'll see y'all next time. I know you wish you were here.